If you want to be successful, you have to wake up at 5 a.m. It is the defining rule of modern productivity culture. Books like The 5 a.m. Club position the pre-dawn hours as a mandatory launchpad for professional transformation. Waking up early has become a moral metric, a way to separate high achievers from everyone else. We trace this exact pressure back to Benjamin Franklin and his 1735 edition of Poor Richard's Almanac, which gave us the famous proverb, "Early to bed and early to rise makes a man healthy, wealthy, and wise." But Franklin didn't invent that phrase. He borrowed it from a 15th century farming manual. In an agrarian society without artificial light, aligning your labor with the sun was a matter of basic survival. We are judging human value in a 24-hour, artificially lit world using a 500-year-old farming schedule. Let's start with the healthy part of the proverb. When sleep scientists look at mortality and health outcomes, the specific time your alarm goes off doesn't matter. What actually reduces your risk of disease is getting 7 to 8 hours of total sleep on a highly regular schedule. The problem starts when an individual's internal biological clock clashes with society's scheduled demands. Researchers call this biological and social friction, social jet lag. This 24-hour clock diagram shows what that friction looks like. When a person with a naturally late sleep cycle is forced to wake up at 6 a.m. for work, they wake up during their biological night. That highlighted red zone represents severe metabolic strain, leading to higher blood sugar and increased cardiovascular risk. This rigid scheduling also triggers a behavioral response called revenge bedtime procrastination. After a heavily scheduled day with zero autonomy, people intentionally delay sleep to reclaim a few hours of personal time. Forcing a 5 a.m. wake-up doesn't generate health. For a natural night owl, it guarantees chronic sleep deprivation and metabolic damage. Moving to the wealthy claim, the standard 9-to-5 corporate workday aligns perfectly with the cognitive peak of a morning person. This graph shows the financial cost of that misalignment over a 30-year career. Evening-type workers accumulate less human capital because they are forced to work outside their optimal hours, resulting in a compounding 4% wage penalty compared to their early rising peers. When we zoom out to the national scale, this individual penalty translates to massive economic damage. The United States loses up to $411 billion every year due to absenteeism and productivity declines directly linked to sleep deprivation. Early risers tend to earn more money, but not because they are inherently superior workers. They are playing an economic game specifically designed for their biology. The wise part of the proverb presents a paradox. Morning people consistently get better grades in school, but this is largely due to the synchrony effect, taking exams during peak morning hours. But this chart shows a different story when we look at raw intelligence. Tracking sleep schedules against childhood intelligence reveals that the very bright group, those with an IQ over 125, correlates with significantly later bedtimes and wake times. Evolutionary psychologists explain this using the Savannah IQ interaction hypothesis. This theory suggests that general human intelligence evolved specifically to help us solve evolutionarily novel problems, things our ancestors never encountered. In the ancestral environment of the African savanna, diurnal humans were historically confined to the day. We have poor night vision, and predators hunted in the dark. For our ancestors, routine nocturnal activity was essentially impossible. Because nighttime activity is a biologically novel behavior, the correlation suggests that higher general intelligence provides the capacity to adopt these novel preferences, even when they diverge from our ancestral diurnal patterns. Our sleep schedules are hardwired. Genetics determine up to 46% of your specific chronotype, the internal predisposition that classifies you as a lark, an owl, or a hummingbird. Your rhythm is controlled by the suprachiasmatic nucleus, a tiny nerve cluster acting as a master clock, syncing physiological processes to light. Pushing through the pain of a 5 a.m. alarm is sometimes celebrated as the heroic minute, but fighting your hardwired genetic programming actually diminishes your cognitive potential and leaves you fatigued. We are finally starting to see institutions adapt to this data. School districts are pushing back start times to protect adolescent health, and global companies are adopting flexible, chronotype-sensitive hours. Long-term success does not come from forcing yourself to obey a 500-year-old farming proverb. It comes from understanding your specific biological hardware and building a life that leverages it.